board members and our team there at the office. Welcome everyone to our November 29th board meeting, and we'll officially call the meeting to order. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. Dr. Gibney Sherman, the one that sent out, any changes needed there?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved. This is Lori.
Jennifer, second.
Jennifer, thanks for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that's 3-0. We have an approved agenda. We'll go to item 3, the approval of our September the 27th minutes as sent to us earlier. Hopefully you had a chance to review those, and we'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes unless there's any comments.
This is Jennifer, so moved.
Thank you,
Second,
Jennifer.
Lori.
And thank you, Lori. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That's also 3-0. Our minutes are approved. Dr. Gibney Sherman, any public comments at this time?
There have been no requests.
No requests for public comments. And hearing that, we'll move right on into item 5 for our superintendent's report. Dr. Gibney Sherman, take it away.
Yes, sir. You've got the personnel listing as normal, nothing really outstanding there. And the recommendations, and then the enrollment continues to climb. Nothing really unusual there. You have the monthly site reports. And just a reminder, we're sending this to all of our partner districts so they're aware of what's going on. Thank you to Dale for pulling this together. And the student newsletter, focusing on one of our graduates. And then the second graduate on our second newsletter is posted. And right now we have 82 graduates as of October the 31st, and that number has grown. And since we've been open, we've graduated 1,898 students. That's about our students. And then you've got a set of test scores. And one thing that we pulled out is a comparison to our other high schools in our Northeast Georgia RESA area. There are 20, and where we rank in the 4 areas on the in the course test. And so you can just see where we are as compared to all our other high schools. That's just for your information. And then we have our information on the end of course test that just came out, and we have all sorts of data available to you that we're happy to explain and point out. But the bottom line is we're always looking for growth. And these scores are really pretty good. You know, we're right at the state average with everything, and in some cases above. And looking at a cohort graduation, and just a reminder, most of our kids come into us and they already are off the charts. They're not going to count. And so what you've got there is looking at us next to our partner districts, as well as all the different high schools that are within. And so that's for your information. And Dale, I don't know if you want to say anything else about that. That might be significant.
No, ma'am, you covered it.
Okay. And I see Norris is here. Thank you, Norris. So Norris is with us.
Yes, hi, everybody.
Hello.
Well, and then this, the next item is talking about our graduation that's on December the 15th. As you know, we hold 2 regional graduations. And these are for kids who, for whatever reason, they were not able to graduate at the typical time. So we host 2 regional graduations, and this was December the 15th. And for this graduation ceremony, we are inviting legislators and right now, and our partner superintendents, to have a little reception before the graduation ceremony itself, which will be in Walton County, Monroe, at the 1025 church. And so thank you to our board members who've already let us know they're coming. We're hoping to make this a special event, so legislators can see what goes on in Foothills and what our kids are all about. And just to let you know, our student speaker one of our student speakers is from corrections. Jordan, he graduated and went to Burris and was released, and he has got quite the story to share. And he'll be inspiration for everyone who is lucky enough to be in the room. And so that's what this invitation is about. And if you have anybody that you feel like can hear about this and learn from it, we'd be happy for them to join us. And that takes care of all the program parts. I'll just pause right there, see if there are any questions. And I see Robbie's here. So thank you, Robbie, for joining us. Nathan, I'll wait for questions.
Are there any questions on the superintendent's report? Keep in mind that December the 15th date, we'd love to have anyone that's able to come visit us at the 1025 Church of Monroe for that regional graduation, and so we can promote the good work of Foothills. Any other questions or comments on the superintendent's report? If not, let's move into our discussion items. And Dr. Gibbon Sherman, turn it back over to you and the team for these updates.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Bonnie to briefly go through the financials, and then I'll take you through the rest.
Thanks. Just real quickly for everybody, there's nothing out of norm here that you haven't seen before. You've got the September 30th budget to actual expenditure report and the October 31st for general fund and funds consolidated. And you can see that we're continuing to receive more revenues than we're expending at this time. So we're in good shape. We've got about 24% of our expenditures at this time, with 33% of the year completed and 32% of our revenue. So again, we're in good shape. The next page is our market analysis for our investment account, and it is continuing, just like investments everywhere else, to show a little bit of a decline. But if you listen to the market reports and things like that, they're hoping that that will have a little bit more of an upswing when the springtime comes, and that money will just sit tight until till we do see an upswing in the economy and we make our investment money back. The last two sheets are related to grants. And you've got the first one is as of September 22nd. That's our final report for all of the federal and state grants that end September 30th for FY22. And then you've got the start of the FY23 grants at the end of October, what those grant amounts are and how much have been expended. And then the final sheet is our funds consolidation sheet. That just shows how we consolidate our funds and how they're broken out and drawn down each month, and things are going well there. Oh, I'm sorry, I always forget. The final sheet is the Heartland financials, where we're continuing to separate that out, and we're also in good shape there. We are, we've got an excess of revenues over expenditures of almost $850,000 since we started the Heartland replication. So we're good to go. Any questions about finances? Yep. For 10A, we did talk last month, and we are starting to look at. We do know that we'll see a dip in revenues next year, even without what's happening with Senate Bill 153. And so we're starting conversations about the budget early this year, and we'll bring information back to you probably in January about that and what may look different. 10B is just a copy of our audit report. And if you just go to the last page of the 60 plus pages, you can see that once again, there were no findings, and everything looked to be in good shape. At the end of this audit, he also filed our 990T with IRS. And took care of our filings with the clearinghouse that we're required to do now that we receive over $500,000 in federal funds. So that's kudos to a great internal auditor, Christy, and assistant bookkeeper, Kim, for keeping us in good shape financially day to day. Any questions about the audit? Good to go.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Bonnie. Yeah, everybody doesn't get one of those letters. We're glad we do.
Yeah. Congratulations on a clean audit with no findings. That's always a great thing for our organization. So good job to the team there.
Absolutely. So thank you, Bonnie, for your leadership there. All right, our next item is looking at unemployment. Thankfully, this is not an everyday conversation, but this is just to keep you current with where we are. And we have received a reimbursement from somebody that we paid. And once they got the money from the feds, then it came back to us. And so we're tracking that and following that along. And then our next item deals, actually, it's not an attachment. I just want to talk orally with you about the network and where we are, Senate Bill 153. A lot of activity here, lots and lots of activity since we last met. And Nathan and I had a brief moment to speak this morning, but we are feeling very optimistic. We had a very productive meeting with the governor's office. Dale and Bonnie and I and Paul went and we talked to the staff, and they were asked very good questions. And I felt like they were very leaning forward and trying to understand exactly the implications. And Bonnie and Dale did a superior job outlining what the implications would be operationally if we had to go in the direction that's being proposed. And we had the same type meeting with Curtis Jones the next week, and he was leaning forward, listening to everything we had to say and reading the reports. And again, we wanted them to know and understand operationally what it meant. We were team players, and we could go through it if we could understand it, but at this moment, we could not see how it could happen. And so they have assured us that they would be, the governor's office, be the in-between between us and Jan and helping to negotiate a compromise. So we're working hard on that. And of course, Irene is coaching us in the back, and we're feeling like we're on a good track. We're hosting next week, no, in 2 weeks, a town hall meeting for Foothills staff to bring them up to date so they understand what's going on. And we've tried really hard to keep our staff aware so that it's not a mystery about what's happening. And so far, unless I'm missing it, they appear to respond well to that. So that's our plan with that. So I'll pause right there and ask if there are any questions. And Nathan, you feel free to share what you wish.
Sure. Any questions so far from any of our board members? And I'll just go ahead, Doris.
Yeah, I don't have a question, just a comment. I had an opportunity to present to the Development Authority. I also serve on the board of Milledgeville Baldwin County. And part of my presentation includes Foothills. So at the end of my presentation, I had one of the Development Authority members ask me about Foothills, and they wanted more information, and I was able to share, and then also took the opportunity to tell them what was happening with the program. And they were just taken aback and immediately said, what do we need to do? Who do we need to contact? Because we need this program in our community. And so I send them the email with all the key people that they need to contact. But I think if we take that opportunity to let members of our community know that are leaders in our community, that I think we will also get additional support from key players in each of our communities.
Absolutely. You know what, Norisa, if we could get their contact names and information, we have something called Friends of Foothills mailing that you've gotten it, that we send out about once a month. And we'd be very proud to include them in that mailing if we could possibly get their name and contact information.
And that's important that we feed them with the right, most up-to-date information to give them some even more talking points as they support us.
Right.
Absolutely. Because it's like chicken tape keeping up. But Norris, thank you so much for your leadership and sharing that with your community. Because truthfully, I think the solution is going to come from outside of us. It's going to come from the community and people that need to have our kids graduate. And that's usually most communities. They need them to work and they need them to be productive. So that we really appreciate that a lot.
I think most everyone on the call knows, and you've been involved in this fight, for lack of better words. So you know that there's, even that might be few, there's those that want to see the programs die, but it's the old saying, it's hard to beat somebody that won't quit. And I'll say this in front of the team. Certainly Mountain Ed and Coastal have done their part in advocating for the programs, but it's clear that no one has advocated stronger, in my opinion, than Foothills and the team that's on this call. So thank you for that. I don't have much other to update on Senate Bill 153, but I can tell you, as Dr. Gibney Sherman mentioned, just in a call that I had last night to a legislator for about an hour and a half, I was impressed to hear at least the time and energy that it's getting. The subject is getting. The Senate's already talking to leaders in the House. There's already some ideas on a sample bill and maybe even a consolidation of two ideas of a bill. And just that alone is a million miles from even just a month or two ago. So I'm much more hopeful to hear the work that's being done behind the scenes even before the session. And without going into any details, I certainly don't know all the nuts and bolts, but it sounds like we might even see an early bill with an early signature. And of course, you all know the reason behind that is because the other two organizations are down to the wire with their timelines. So that would hopefully that bill would also put them on our timeline. And really more importantly than that, get us back on track. Now, we all know it's going to be a greatly reduced funding model, but to keep our LEA status and to kind of keep things rolling as is, we can figure out a way to, and that portion of the funding, if we can get the alternative funding, keep all our federal dollars, we know the supplement's going to be drastically reduced. But I think that's still a win. I hope y'all feel the same way, but we can fight through that. But that's what it sounds like. It sounds like thanks to the work of you all, we have finally got some time from the governor via Miranda and those guys to listen. And I think with that push and that the new speaker is on board with the programs from Southeast Georgia, those are key right there and to getting some momentum. So where there's already been discussions in terms of things that kind of satisfies those two areas that we talked about. There's even a meeting here at GSBA to firm up some details behind a possible bill these next few days. So a lot of momentum all of a sudden, and it's certainly because of a lot of sweat equity that you all have put in. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. I couldn't be prouder of the people working for Foothills and the energy and the passion they're putting in to make sure that we stay alive. Appreciate that.
All right, that takes us to item D on our discussion items, I think.
Yes, sir. Just our FTE count, where we are is 2,424 on this last FTE. So that's a little down, but not much. It's right and close. But we're anticipating a drop in revenues for next year with the impact of COVID and all that. But so is the rest of the state. And then you've got, let's see, and that's about it. Oh, we did want to make sure we're clear about your board training and Dale, if you could speak to that about where we are and what we need to finish off the year.
Absolutely. So in March on the 28th, we'll have our whole board training, and that will be a 3-hour training here at the regional office. I believe it falls after the Board of Control meeting and for RISA. That will also include 1 hour of financial training. And you'll remember from our conversations over the summer that we did get it approved for training that you're doing as part of your board training or conferences that you're going to, such as GSBA, counting toward your hours. And so what I'll be doing over the next week or so is just reaching out to each of you to find out what training you've done this year that can satisfy those hours, and we'll get documentation from you and sign off at the end of the year. We will have next semester, we're working on the details, but we will have 2 hours of virtual financial training that you can complete at your own pace asynchronously. So we'll share some more details with you about that in January.
That sounds great. For example, I'll be attending the 6-hour legal training tomorrow. Do you need anything from that, or do you have access that I went? What do we need to provide, if anything?
Generally with GSBA, you just scan in, and then sometimes you get that certificate at the end.
Right.
But ultimately, my understanding from Alan was that we can just sign off that you've completed these and documented what conferences. I don't know that we need a certificate from everyone.
Okay. We do scan in and scan out, so I don't think there's a hard copy of anything. I just didn't know if you need any kind of proof or anything.
From GSBA, yeah.
Okay, great.
Just make sure they scan your badge.
Roger that.
This is Nerese. It's the same thing for me. I'll be participating tomorrow as well in that session.
Perfect. Okay, and Bonnie will be there at finance, and then Dale and I are going to come at the end for the Thursday and Friday. And we're going mainly to politics. That's our new role, is to go make nice to everyone we can. We did have to open up a new site in Barrow. We split it, and we now have one at Russell Middle School. And when you do that, every time we split or at a site, we have to get accredited. And so we did have the accrediting visit, and we passed, and now they're fully accredited, and that's it from the Georgia Accrediting Commission. And then the last thing we've got, Nathan, are what I think could be a consent agenda, looking at the personnel recommendations, the financials from last meeting, the policies that have been on the table for 30 days, and the surplus technology equipment, and the approval of the facilities grant for FY23.
Okay, and we'll just push that out to all 5 board members. Board members, any objection to take these as a consent approval together? Hearing none, we'll consider those together. And I believe we've been briefed on all those, either certainly orally. We've talked about the policies, the financials already. I think the surplus of technology equipment was sent to us earlier via electronic handout. And then our FY23 facilities grant, as you mentioned. Board members, entertain a motion to approve these 5 items for action.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Hooker.
Second, Lori.
Thank you, Lori Allison. Any discussion on any of the items? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Our 5 action items are approved. Before we adjourn, keep in mind of our January the 17th meeting date. That's our next board meeting, governance team meeting at 4 p.m. via teleconference.
Sounds great.
Anything else good for the group? Dr. Gibney Sherman, I think you mentioned this at a prior meeting, but we want to send our regards to the passing of Franklin County Superintendent Chris Farrer. I'm probably saying his last name incorrectly, but just want to make sure our board realizes that he has passed recently.
Thank you. And as a matter of fact, they're having a memorial service for him this Sunday on December the 4th at 3 o'clock up in Franklin County. But it's a sad time, but he's not in pain anymore.
That's right. Anything else from the team, from anyone? Hearing none, thank everyone again for their time today. Lots of hard work. Thank you, Sherry, to your team for putting all this together. And we appreciate everyone for a great meeting, and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Nerese.
Dr. Price, second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. If you're attending GSBA, travel safe, and hope you have a great conference. And we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you
Good
so
evening.
much.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank
Have a good evening.